The story of Daniel. What can we learn from the story of Daniel? Well, the main thing we can learn from the story of Daniel is that whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. And that's found in Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 25. The story of the foolish virgins. What can we learn from it? Well, from the story of the foolish virgins, we can learn that some were ready, some were not. Those who were ready got in, and those who were not did not. What can we learn from the story of Noah? Well, the main thing we can learn from the story of Noah is that deliverance is the reward for righteousness. Isaiah once sent a messenger with good news, and it was received with much rejoicing. What can we learn from that? Well, in Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 25, it says, "Like water to a weary person, so is good news from a distant land." Rehoboam. What can we learn from the story of Rehoboam? Well, Rehoboam was Solomon's son, and he became king. He took Solomon's place as king. Rehoboam did not listen to the advice of his older counselors. Instead, he listened to the advice of the people he had grown up with. As a result, his kingdom split because he did not do what the older counselors had advised him to do, and as a result, the effect was a split kingdom. And he should have listened to Solomon. If he would have listened to the words of Solomon in Proverbs 11 and 14, he says, where there is no counsel, a nation will fall, but there is strength in many advisers. And also in Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 22, it says, plans fail without counsel, but with many advisers they will succeed. This is an image of Jeremiah trying to demonstrate to his nation how morally bankrupt they are. President Theodore Roosevelt, he said, to educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. The story of Judas. What do we know about Judas? Well, Judas was one of the original apostles with Jesus. He was one of the 12. And his problem was that he was tempted by wealth. If you see this image here, you can see that these people are tempting Judas with these 30 pieces of silver in order to betray the Lord. And you can see they almost look like, is 30 pieces of silver not good enough for you? Is 30 pieces not enough? Judas took the 30 pieces of silver in order to betray Jesus, but the really sad thing is that there's a lot of people today who betray Jesus for far less than 30 pieces of silver. So what can we learn from this? Well, we remember that Judas, after he had betrayed Jesus, he came to these people and he said, I have betrayed innocent blood. And what did they say? They said, what's that to us? See to it yourself. What's that to us? See to it yourself? Sure, that's not what Judas was expecting from these men. But why? Why did this happen to Judas? Well, that's what the point is. And that point is that evil people will use you just as long as you're useful. Samson. What do we know about Samson? Well, Samson was a man of great strength. He had great physical strength, and both physically, and I would say he also had great physical strength mentally in some capacity, because he was able to do many things that would have been deadly if he would not have been mentally strong enough to do them. Like wrestling with animals, for example. Here he is, a picture of him killing a giant cat. And he wouldn't have been able to do that unless he had the mental fortitude to be able to go through with it. So he was physically and somewhat mentally strong. But what he lacked was spiritual strength. He was kind of loose with his morals and characters. And this is what caused him to become blinded and captured by his enemies, and therefore made a slave. You see, it's one thing to be mentally and physically strong, like Samson, but it's another thing to be spiritually strong. What can we learn about the writing on the wall? Well, there was a king called Belshazzar, and he was having a feast. And during his feast, a hand appeared on the wall, and it started writing on the wall. This got everybody's attention, especially Belshazzar. If you look at the image of him here, you can see that he is utterly shocked, along with everyone else. And from that we can learn that God's presence is very powerful, and it has an effect on people. The story of the blind man. Well, what happened here? Well, Jesus found this blind man, and he put some mud in his eyes. And when this man, as you can see, he went to go wash the mud out of his eyes. And when he did, he was able to see again. And when this happened, he went about rejoicing and telling everyone in town about what Jesus had done for him. And it's the same way with us, because sometimes we can be blind to a lot of things. But when Jesus allows us to see things, to see again, we should go about rejoicing because of it. What does this mean? It means that sometimes we can be blind to what Jesus has already done for us. And when he allows us to understand that better, we should rejoice. Sometimes it means we can be studying his word, and he can open our eyes to his word in a greater extent than to what we have had before, and because of that we should rejoice. And sometimes Jesus opens our eyes to opportunities to both serve him and to do his will. He can open our eyes to the needs of others in order to help us bring his word to them and to others. And when this happens, we should rejoice and complete the work which he has given to us to do to fulfill the need. And then we should go about rejoicing as this man did.